Five rounds, and we've seen a variety of winners and some incredible racing. The short season wraps up here in Japan, and our drivers will get one last chance to fill their pockets. Will we see some desperation from our competitors? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round six of the Racing Edge Sim Racing series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Stefan Schlocker and Nick Schmeg. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Suzuka has been a major racing circuit for nearly since it was built, but the arrival of Formula One in the 80s truly thrust it onto the world stage in a big way. To learn a little bit more about one of Japan's most famous racetracks, let's head down to our track guide. Welcome to Suzuka Circuit, perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history. This track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Degner's 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard? You can see a little bit sunnier times when we had our track guide put together, but here in the coolness though, Nick, it's still going to be Suzuka, and it's still going to be a grand finish for this series.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we've got the just under 6 kilometers here that make up Suzuka. That's about 3.6 miles. It's spread over 17 turns as well. And this is a driver's favorite when it comes to many racing series, especially on the sim, but also in the series like Formula One. And they don't just love it for the racing that happens on track, but just for the overall fan environment that congregates here every year at Suzuka. Fans have been coming here since the 60s, and they've been coming here for Formula One, like you said, since the 80s, many times for the World Championship finale, just like we have the season finale here today. The infamous turns here, like 130R, Spoon, and the S's, of course, to start a lap, they've seen names like Senna and Prost battle it out time again. But it's also one of those rare non-American circuits that have seen the names like Earnhardt and Labonte take to the action as well. Tonight, though, the multi-class action is going to once again bring out the awareness skills in these drivers, and some of these tighter, hillier sections might make for some gutsy moves and some close calls. So buckle up, because, Joe, we've got 30 minutes of chaos ahead of us tonight.
Yeah, with those two classes should be fascinating out there, because there's a lot of twisty bits. But before we get to the racing, we want to talk to you about the promoter of this series. You want to put your racing skills to the test on the track? Visit racingedge.com and check out the latest listings for race cars and classic cars. From super quick McLarens to vintage Ferraris, racingedge.com will cater for your needs. Want to learn more about how to get into motor racing? Visit racingedge.com/media for more. Now, on to the racing details for this event. Steph, what are the drivers up against here today?
Well, they most definitely will not only battle their own Audi R8s and Audi RS3s here today, but they will also battle the track a little bit in this last round of the 6 rounds that we have been able to witness throughout the weeks. They will have to race for 30 minutes straight, and it should be quite a blast because there are also, as always, cash prizes, hopefully not crash prizes, for all the podium finishers in both classes, and they will have to do with the fixed setup they are being provided by the host, Daniel Morat.
Now, right now, qualifying is going on, and they only have 2 laps to get a lap in. But around here, it takes a long time to get to the start-finish line. Make sure and check out the social media while you're at it. There you can see on your screen and how you can get a hold of racingedge.com. Nicholas Verone is currently on the pole for the GT3 class, and the TCR has Stephen Jeffrey up there at the top. Still waiting on a few more to get some laps in. And I am seeing a few drivers that are missing times that seems to have had an off track on their first lap. So obviously this is proving to be quite a difficult one.
Certainly is. This is just such a tight track, and there's really not much room for error here. You can't really take different lines through many of these corners, and when you try to get a good run on someone ahead of you by taking another line, it sometimes will negatively affect another turn that comes up. So these drivers are really going to have to compromise. Just seeing that and taking a look at that makes me just a little bit nervous for the multi-class traffic that we expect to see probably about halfway through this race.
And speaking of the 2 different classes, Steph, you were talking to us quite a bit about this before we came live here, that it sounds like the cool conditions are going to be sort of odd for especially the TCRs, it sounds like.
Yeah, most definitely, because you will see those TCRs really get their slides going with the rear wheels, because they have so much front wheel grip. And that's the problem, because they also will experience a lot of wear because of all the fast and really tight turns with the big loads on those tires. So it will be really interesting because they get offered a lot of grip, but because of all the turns we have here at Suzuka, they will experience a lot of wear. So we might actually see a lot of people trying it really slow in the first part of the race. Let's say first 10 to 15 minutes maybe, and then they slowly up their pace until they are ready to go and are good on their tires till the end. Same thing a little bit with the R8, not as big, but we might see a little bit of a blurry edge regarding that rear end grip.
There's Vlad Dojsic we saw come across the line. That lap put him into 7th, but we still have a number of them finishing up here in these last 2 minutes. Andre Adams looks like he's actually going to go just behind him in 8th. No, just ahead of him, actually. Make that 9th as yet more people coming up and across the line, taking higher positions here in the TCRs. One I'm keeping half an eye on is Daniel Morad. Oh, actually, no. Morad's in the wall right now. He was in 5th in qualifying in the GT3 class, but the number 70 has apparently not been able to complete his second lap. Is Take Him going to follow the same route, apparently?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of drivers struggle with grip despite those cooler conditions. Drivers just really pushing the limits here, it seems, in qualifying. Of course, they only get 2 laps. That's why it's so risky to do that. But still, 31 drivers have set a time so far. But there are some big names that haven't put up a time yet, like Kenton Cook, Christopher Bailey, and Nick Rowland.
Kathy Williams is just finishing her second lap in the number 31. And it's going to be half a second faster. So that bumps her up to 13th now. Nice final effort there. I see Nick Rowland here in the Audi GT3 coming to the line. His first lap did not count, so this is going to be a lot of pressure on him, a 59.1. And that is going to shuffle him to 3rd. So the 67, even though he's a little mistake prone in qualifying, it looks like that second lap made up for it. Seeing if there's anybody else able to complete qualifying. I see Igor Bembic, but he's only got a minute left and he's got more than half the lap to go here. So I think that is going to be it for our starting order. Checking to see if this is possible for Igor to work his way around to the timing screen. Because he's coming up to Spoon right now. This is where we're watching. It's the faster back half of the course. Gone through most of the technical bits, and once he's out of Spoon, he can really unleash the power of this GT3 car. Love the paint scheme on this thing as well. Very eye-catching. Already almost 100 miles an hour as he was coming out of the turn, and as he climbs the hill, 140, 145, 10 seconds. Yep, he's not going to make it for sure. So that is it. That is our grid set. Let's go through the starting order, starting with the GT3s with Nicholas Verone. It's a bit of a new name around here. He's starting on the pole. Caden Bean will be in second, and Nick Rowland starts in P3. Giuliano Romagnolo only able to get up to fourth here in the qualifying today with Alex Ellis starting in P5. You've got Daniel Morad starting in 6. You got Tae Kim in P7, Michael Pletty in the 8th place, and then Nicholas Latifi is in 9th. Rounding out the top 10 is Carlos Cantu here, Nick.
Alexander Davidson and Jose Balbiani are going to be following in the 10 and the 20 car. Maximilian Jaeger in that Baker's dozen position, starting in row 7 alongside Kathy Williams. James J.J. Ross going to be right behind in 15th and 16th, 17th and 18th. Going to go to Mark Harris, Adolfo Perez, and Parker Chase. Behind them, that's where you'll see the first of the touring car classes. It's Stephen Jeffrey and Thomas Cope taking the front row there.
Rich Price will be lining up in 3rd in the TCRs, with Zach Rivenier lining up right beside him. James Llewellyn in 27th, Paulo Brem, a GSRC regular 28th, Sam Fellows 29th. David Schwartz will be your 30th car on the grid.
Andre Adams starts 31st overall, with Zlad Dojsic in 32nd. Then you got Michael Broomhead in 33rd. Ryan Zinn starts P34, followed by Michael Shaughnessy in 35th, with the last car putting a time in being Jacob Exton, P36 for him. Christopher Bailey and Alex Federico are out on the grid, so we'll have 38 cars out here for the last race of the season. Should be a pretty fun time. And again, for those of you who are just tuning in and haven't watched any of these previous races, they are racing for cash. Top 3 in each class will bring home some money. Curious about this newcomer here, Nick Verone. Looks like he's quick. He was quick in practice, and I think he's holding up here in qualifying as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's 0.6 of a second ahead of anyone else. Caden Bean right back in 2nd place. And, there's been a lot of action up at the top of that GT3 field all season long. And I think tonight's what's going to separate the good from the great. I think it's going to come down to how you manage that traffic and how you manage the gap behind you. But we might see, just as they go into turn number 1 and up through the S's, what Verone has got for the rest of this field.
Yeah, even in the real world, turn 1 and the S's can be a little perilous for the drivers on the first lap. Nick has control. He's waiting patiently. He's backing them up quite a bit, and now he accelerates away. It's a good jump as the green flag comes out for the number 25 car. Already, it's a fierce battle for 2nd place. Look at this. 5 cars very clumped together all the way down to the inside. Caden Bean trying to cover them off. Roland looking for a way around, almost 3 wide behind them for a moment. Looks like they're going to get through with the front of the pack, and I think the first couple corners going to be clean for the GT3. Steph, what's the TCRs look like?
TCR very nice, very neatly as well. Stephen Jeffrey is the leading car still, with Thomas Cope in 2nd and Rich Price in 3rd. There was a little bit of a challenge from Zachary Lanier, but that was defended up very nicely. And so they enter single file, the first set of S's.
Good start here for our field. Very clean, but already Verone doing a good job taking advantage of that great start that he had. He's pulled out by about 0.7 of a second over Caden. 21 still getting chased, managing to hold on to 2nd. A big string of cars, as very few of them have spread apart behind them.
Yeah, back in 6th place, that's where you really start to see all that stack up. Daniel Morad leads those cars. We've seen how quick he is. He's driven to the front in a couple of these races, but right now he is being pressured immensely from Tae Kim, Michael Pleadle, Nicholas Latifi, and Alexander Davidson, with more coming behind them.
Got it first off in the TCRs. Paulo Brem, unfortunately, finding the Degners very difficult on the first time through. He didn't hit anything, and he keeps going. So no harm, no foul, just a lot of positions lost.
Yeah, one of the most easiest things to do in the TCR, hop over that outside curb, and away you go into the gravel with all the artificial turf that's laid outside of the Degner corner.
Watching them head through the very fast 130R for the first time. Let's see if anybody makes a move down
Michael
into the
Pleadle.
gap.
Pleadle's going to go off.
And Davidson, too. And the number 10 smacked into the wall coming off the exit. So here's the first one.
I think I saw 3 different cars there being spun around. I don't know if those were separate incidents or they were
I
connected.
think they were separate because the number 10, I think, happened. Yeah, there you saw him in the background coming across the track.
I think actually that Davidson got spun by the 535.
Yeah, coming back on track.
Oh, you're right.
I also saw Kathy Williams in the far background go off track as well. She made contact with James Ross.
Well, they had the first part of the lap was really good, and then apparently 130R is the trouble zone for our drivers today. As we come back live now, Verone's still leading in the GT3s.
It's a little bit further back in the pack, but it took out about 4 cars. Jacob Axton, one of the cars that was involved.
Ooh, and yeah, it looks like not only that, but we've got a big wreck in the GT3s because I see Chris Regium and the 93 is involved. Yeah, here's this incident with the GT3s and kind of wow, just became a pile kind of sliding into the tire barrier, unfortunately. This is Schwartz happening in the TCRs. I didn't get to catch this one here.
Just on the inside, you can see Axton spins out and then kicks off because he's standing right in the middle. That was Paulo Brem, the blue TCR that collided with him. Just unfortunate situation altogether.
Another casualty. While that happened, we don't have to go there. Of course, Maximilian Jaeger also spun out of the top 10 in the GT3 class.
Oof, man, it is erupted here by the end of the first lap, and now suddenly everything is quite wild. Meanwhile, top 3 in the TCR. Oh, is going to be the top 2 because third place, Rich Price, spins it out of Spoon.
Yeah, interestingly, third mistake in 2 laps from Rich Price. The second time, or the first time he did it through Spoon twice. He already had issues through the Deckner corner. We go into replay to show you exactly what happened to the 28. Seems like a little bit too eager on the brakes towards a Spoon corner, second part of Spoon, and just to the inside. Ooh, very lucky here. All the cars on the outside getting away.
Thankfully didn't hit anything. Price down to 7th because of that. Again, it seems like mistakes are easy to make today, so in these 30 minutes you could gain some of those back, but so far a lot falling victim to a lot of errors. Meanwhile, 5th in the GT3 class has Alex Ellis ahead of Daniel Morad, the Daytona 24 champion, really hunting down that number 74 just behind them. Looks like Tae Kim is in quite a hurry as he's sliding it through some of those Degner corners.
Yeah, right from the start, Tae Kim was hounding the back of Daniel Morad. Wasn't able to find the way around, but also he kept it out of the tire barrier, so he's already better than a couple of these drivers that ended up pushing it just a little too hard. But yeah, they're all chasing the teammates. Alex Ellis and a little bit ahead, Giuliano Romagnolo up in 4th.
Had a few more offs in the GT3s. Don't need to go to it. Regium and Pledel, unfortunately, have also had more fun.
Stefan Jeffrey just spun through the uphill left-hand corner after the S's. That was one of the weirdest lines I've ever seen from someone.
He was off for quite a while.
On the turn-in. It's really interesting. There you can see how far offline he is, and it just goes over the gravel. Tries to keep somewhat his foot in to keep that car still, but over the bumps, spins it to the inside. And that's a lot of position lost for Jeffrey. All now, he is at the very back of the pack in 16th place.
Yeah, that'll promote Thomas Cope to the lead with Zachary Vanier up to 2nd now. James Llewellyn is in the final cash paying position in 3rd. But look who's hot on his heels. Zlad Dojsic and Sam Fellows very close and looking eager to try and take that money away. Looks like we might have a change for 4th here too, Steph.
Yeah, Llewellyn just had a big mistake through Spoon. That's why he's coming under pressure now from Zlad Dojsic, who is to the inside of him as he blinks away from me. There we go. And Llewellyn really wide through 130R. Makes about a 160R out of that turn. As now also he goes side by side with Sam Fellows, who breaks to the inside of the Casio Triangle, but he's not going to be able to do that move happen. Now he's losing a lot of momentum to the number 11 car.
Yeah, that corner exit hurt him a lot. We were riding on board, and you can see that the 11 has just got a massive distance between him after a near pass into that final chicane. Seems like I keep looking over at my timing screen. We've got another car off just about every other second, many of them in the mid or back of the pack, so unfortunately we won't be able to cover it all. If you want to try and keep track of everything that's happening, check out GSRC.tv for live timing and scoring here from this race in both classes. All cars are there and available to be seen, including Kathy Williams, who seems to have lost it here in the hairpin.
She did. Lost about 2 spots there. Closest battle I'm seeing in the GT3s continues to be that for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Ellis, Morad, and Tay Kim still all nose to tail.
Kim flirting with disaster there. We've already seen some drivers fall victim to the exit of 130R, and he was 2 wheels off on the AstroTurf. Straddling that curb has already cost a few a little bit in race-ending damage. As they come down the front stretch once again, up towards turn 1. One of the decent places to try and pass here at this course. Nobody really close enough in these 3 cars to try and attempt. Ellis is going to hold on to 5th, but look at him close in mid-corner. Woof, and take him right underneath the rear wing, taking a peek into the S's, but decides better of it.
Yeah, it's such a hard part of the track to get a pass done. So hard to go through there side by side, let alone try to get around someone. Take him. He might have to wait a couple of corners.
Wayne with it, though. It'll come back to him if he could just hold on to the back of Daniel Morad. As they come down to the Degners. Everybody going to try and chuck that car in hard, get it woed up here into the second part. Ooh, and it was a good entry, but it is a good exit for Take Him. He stays with it. Sometimes we see passes down into the hairpin, and it doesn't look like it's to be this time. If they keep fighting, though, don't look now, but Nicholas Latifi and Carlos Cantu are gaining.
Yeah, those were 2 drivers that we saw very fast a week ago at Barcelona. And they're working together right now. They're playing pretty nice with each other, not being too aggressive. Like Take Him, who's going to make a dive to the inside. He's going to have to back out of it once again. Morad's going to get a not great jump off that corner, but he's still going to be able to hold it on to 6th place.
Aggressive stuff. But we'll have to step away for a bit because Llewellyn has Fellows and Price still chasing. Excuse me, no, Doisich here in 3rd, not Llewellyn. Being chased by James there in the number 11 through the S's.
Oh, and Take Him has just gone off, Joe.
Oh, all that good work thrown away. That happened, well, I warned about 130R, yeah.
He was pushing it. He had the pace, but his tires just did not have the grip out on that runoff.
And then, oh, that's Kenton Cook going off there. We see up at the top of the screen in a separate incident. Bizarre stuff here. Let's see if Tay's able to keep the pace up because that was a pretty good lick.
Yeah, it was. Looks like a gentle place to make contact, but still, I'm sure he's got some damage to that number 26 machine. He's lost a lot of ground. That's the important thing in a 30-minute race.
Yeah, we're already a third of the way through it as well, with past 10 minutes into this thing. Let's head back to Doisich up in 3rd in the TCRs because they're coming up the backstretch once again. James has a good slipstream, and it seems, oh, it's on screen. Is this Tay spinning again? That looks like the Degners, so boy, Take Him having a hard day of things. Oh, and Morad, we don't need to go to it, but Morad just got by Alex Ellis. That was for 5th place. Remember, those 2 had been fighting earlier. Meanwhile, look at this battle for the podium.
Yeah, Llewellyn tried a few times already to get past Doisich again into that 3rd position, but he wasn't able to do it though. But this might be his best run. Goes to the outside of the 1st corner. Let's see if he's able to do it. Breaks way later than Doisich on the inside, but the 44 on the inside has the better momentum through the corner. He might also be able to get more traction with all the marbles to the outside of the number 11. Though the inside now goes to Llewellyn, and he makes it happen with a little bit of bump from Doisich.
Wow, brave stuff there from James to make that work. Awful close racing as well between them. Not only is Fellows right back there, but Price is now caught up, and they're being brought upon by, this looks like Steven Sheriff,
Oh,
who
he
is
does it!
not a lapping
Woo!
car.
That was really close. He was to the outside, had a little bit of a sideways going there, as now Sam Fellows goes to the inside, maybe of the Degner 2 corner. No, has to brake, as I said, Stephen Sheriff. Oh, he gets actually bumped by Rich Price.
Yeah, he's just trying to get back on the same lap as his class. So he's not really in a fight here. He's not being chased, but he's trying to pick his way through. It's certainly proving tough with how hard that these guys are fighting at the top of the TCRs. Meanwhile, I mentioned that battle between Morad and Ellis, as Morad is currently the one ahead. They're still being chased by both Latifi and Cantu. Hopefully, this doesn't go wrong as it has for a number of other drivers already. As they come out of the hairpin, we're hitting the halfway mark pretty soon, and that was a great exit from the 70.
It really was. Yeah, Morad's had the pace all day. I think he started just a position behind. He's able to get that spot, like we saw around him, get around Alex Ellis, and he's got a long ways up to Giuliano Romagnolo. He's got about a little over 4 seconds to get up there. But yeah, the one I'm watching right now is Latifi and Cantu. Will they be able to close in on Ellis, and or will they start battling amongst themselves?
Now they've spread apart slightly, so not seeing anything of an attack, at least for here. It depends on how they get through 130R.
Meanwhile though, James has once again made a mistake on Stadusich, back into 3rd place in the TCRs.
Thanks for the update. As we watch them break down into the Casio Triangle, nothing doing for any of the drivers. A very different line between both Ellis and Morad coming out of the final chicane. Not sure anybody's going to get a chance, so let's head back to that battle between Dojsic and Llewellyn.
Yeah, Dojsic just made a mistake himself through the first corner, and now James Llewellyn tried to go once again past, but it didn't happen for him as he had the outside for the entrance into the Snake, as it's officially called. So Dojsic still in 3rd place. Sam Fellows, though, right on the back of Llewellyn. Llewellyn, though, look at that exit through Dunlop. Maybe is able to do something into the Dagner corner. No, has to give up once again that fight for 3rd.
That 11 was strong off of the S's, and it looks like he might be able to have another go here soon. Falls back a little bit coming out of Dagner 2. There goes his chance to pass into the hairpin. Just behind them, Rich Price giving watch, and I believe they've got some more of our GT3s closing in. You mentioned Verone and Bean actually right behind them now.
Yeah, this is incredible. Caden Bean just cut off 4 seconds from that gap up to Nicholas Verone. He's there. This traffic, Verone's done a great job getting through, but it has just caused him to get on the binder so much that Caden Bean has been able to close in, and he's now looking straight ahead at that lead, at that top position on the podium. Now that they might have a little bit of room on track to work with, is Bean going to be able to get around Verone?
Ooh, he's got a good run. Wow, this is going to be hairy if they try to go through too wide. Not quite. Still a shallow entry for Verone, and somehow he stays ahead yet again, having to stick it in the middle of the road to keep his challenger back. Caden Bean is very clearly good in traffic. Can he use it to his advantage before these 14 minutes are up?
They both did a great job making their way through traffic, but Verone caught all of the TCRs in the S's, and there's just no room to get around them there, especially when the TCRs are side by side. Down into turn number 1, they get underneath Zachary Veneer cleanly. Caden Bean, this is where he closed in on that last lap. Will he be able to do it again? He's going to have a great run through the S's.
Staying right with him. He's given himself the best opportunity possible. As this is happening, well, sounds like we've got more action down in 5th. Oh, Morad just spun and had contact. Morad just got hit by Jacob Exton as he was trying to lap some of the slower class cars.
We've seen Morad have some bad luck before getting through traffic, and he has it happen again. You're right, this doesn't look to be any fault of his own. It looks like Exton was trying to keep to his own line and got up on the curb. Came back and cross.
Oh, and Duisic just had problems through the Dagners with getting lapped.
Yeah, and that involved Latifi as Morad tries to come back through. We're watching the replay here of the initial incident. They're still very close. Morad almost side by side as we now come live. They're going to get by the car of Llewellyn. They're clear now. It can just be amongst themselves. The F1 driver has got a handful of IMSA driver, though. The 70 doesn't duck his nose out into the spoon, but they come to the backstretch. A good exit and some slipstream could set him up.
He could. He's going to need a big run.
This has really cost both of them all the problems they've had with the traffic. Ellis is way ahead of them now. Don't think it's going to be enough from Morad. He could have damage, so I wonder if he's suffering a little bit. Down to the inside of Veneer. They're both eager to get through one of our podium sitters here in the TCRs. They're going to be able to do so without too much hassle.
Latifi just so good through traffic, so good through 130R. That's going to allow him to open that gap back up over at Morad. Morad's going to need a lot of help in terms of traffic, I think, to get that spot back. Latifi looks to be on rails right now, moving through the field.
Yeah, considering he qualified in 9th and this brings him up to 6th, that is not too shabby, but he's not quite in the money-paying positions yet. They work their way back and forth through one of the more technical sections here of the track. He's got 2 seconds to make up to get to Ellis. It's there, but he'll really have to push. Back to the TCRs. Duisic just ahead of Price.
Yeah, not only that, but there's also still some GT3 traffic trying to get past that scooter and Chase to the inside. Now also that is Tai Kim to the inside. So they all have to work through traffic while battling not only their class, but also with their own setup.
That helped out Duisic quite a bit. Price falls back into the clutches of Exton.
That's Chase. In behind. Oh, he actually gets hit by the
Rich Price absolutely plows into him. Car left on its lid, despondent at the side of the road. So the 28 probably going to have some severe damage out of that.
Oh, just launched Parker Chase up into the air.
Watch from on board Rich.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the
just
most
picked
interesting. Just go left, go right. He chose to go right, and most definitely that was the wrong choice to do.
To quote a knight, he chose poorly. Meanwhile, with 10 minutes left to go, Verone is still dealing with Caden Bean chasing close behind him. As on screen, we're watching Price there. This is the number 25, our leader, up at the front. Half a second splits himself and the number 21, and there you can see the distance on your screen.
Yeah, you know, Verone has had the pace over everyone else all night long, but ever since being caught up in traffic and got Verone in his sights, he's not let him out of his sights. He's still there, and he's managed that gap. He's not lost too much time off the back of that 25. We'll just have to see if in these last few minutes of this race, now under 10 minutes left, if Bean is able to close back in. He might need a little extra help in terms of traffic to get around Verone.
Let's stick with this, but a quick update from Steph. It sounds like the top 5 in both classes really having trouble if you're outside of the podium here.
Yeah, most definitely. Duisic and Exton just collided with each other through the Cassia triangle. Not much harm done to either car, but they have been reeled on by Christopher Bailey as they are now fighting. Oh, and Exton and Bailey just collided.
Bailey almost going off course, but keeps the car together, keeps it on the course. All the cars starting to streaming by now. So, some of these, of course, are drivers in the GT3 classes. Perez is eager to get by Exton, almost shoves him out of the way. Bailey's going to take advantage of it. Easy come, easy go. And he could have the spot. He's going to have to outbrake him down into the hairpin. Exton tries to stick his nose in, but it's not to be.
Right behind that black and pink livery that you see, that is the car of your former leader, Stefan Jeffrey. He's finding his way back, now trying to attack that 7th place of Jacob Exton.
Glad to see him get back into things. He lost a lot of time. He's now hounding the back of Jacob Exton. Jacob has seen a number of car contacts already here in this short race, so cannot be in pristine condition rather. Come up to 130R. Nobody with a good enough exit and a good enough slipstream to attack here. Let's see what this fast left-hander holds in store. Exton gains a little on Bailey, and he thinks about going to the inside. In fact, he doesn't just think, he does. He goes for it, and he takes it clean. I don't know how, but he did.
Wow, must have been all that Velveline in his engine. What that was quite a dive bomb. Much trust from him on that break. And also very nice awareness from Christopher Bailey there, that he managed to not get collected by the dive bombing X, but he is not being outdone, tries to do it back into curve 1, that's not going to work out. He has settled for 7th place.
I think settled's a strong word on that one. I don't think this is over. With them coming to the S's once more, and Jeffrey still behind them, waiting as patiently as I can imagine, because with his pace, you would think he would be in a hurry to get by. He's certainly all over the back of the number 1 of Bailey. Over and into the back. One more of our GT3s coming through. That's Mark Harris. He played a very patient role in this, waiting for the right opportunity. And a pass in front of them. That's Exton and Doisich. Doisich getting shoved to the outside, and they bang doors yet again as they come back on the track. 3 wide with the lap traffic coming by. Exton has a nose ahead, and he covers off the inside. Wild stuff here. Fighting for just a top 5. This doesn't even pay them anything. This is just for pride among these 4 that we're watching. Currently 5th, held by Exton with 6. It's Doisich, moved to the inside, so 5th. Going to be our former leader, but Jeffrey gets tipped and spoon and falls back behind. A little bit more contact. Paulo Brem getting into him. It's a rough day for the 249. It was a walking mat there, Steph.
Yeah, that was rather interesting. 2 corners there for Stefan Jeffrey. Goes off track here because it just didn't really clear Bailey, and then has a little bit of a weird re-entrance. I don't know, Paulo Brem probably didn't see him or something like that. He takes the normal racing line, doesn't expect the 249 there on the outside, and they just bang doors 3, 4, 5 times in total. And yeah, Jeffrey just nowhere to go in the very end. But now also Exton and Doisich are once again fighting for that 5th place.
Yep, Exton is going to hold the inside in the number 38. Oh, we got a car diving. Again, and that's Bailey.
Oh,
when he
no,
goes
not again.
back across the track, Jeffrey gets it again.
Poor Jeffrey. No.
Wherever you got that black cat, take it out of the car, throw it out the window at this point, because it's doing you no good. And he's going to come, as we watch the replay, he just had contact just now. Let's stay on this replay, and it was Bailey again. For anyone listening who is a animal lover such as myself, please do not throw your pets out of the car. And then as we watch this, Bailey gets it going, but then watch, they're both going to get back on track in almost the same place.
Yeah, they already nearly collided when they re-entered the track right here. And then just 1 corner further ahead, you can see they're side by side. And then, yeah, Jeffrey just takes a weird bounce off the curb on the inside, and that sends him right into the grey car of Bailey. And they once again have an issue.
Keep the cameras off of poor Jeffrey. I think he's had enough punishment for the days. We watch Bailey now. Things up at the top of each class are a lot calmer than this. Verone has responded to Bean and is pulled away by about a second and a half. Cope, a distant 10 seconds back to Vanier. So, obviously, very easy going up at the front of the TCRs. Not so for 5th place, which has really been hotly contested. Paolo Bream and Zlad Dojsic. Oh, actually, they just made contact for 130R. They're both going to get out the other side of that one, but the 44 has had all comers try and take this spot away from him.
Yeah, while the 64 of Thomas Cope has been able to very nicely cope up with all the challenges has been thrown at him during this race. Not so much Dojsic, he has fallen down and up the order quite nicely. Once again, he's side by side for the 5th place against Paolo Brem this time. But I think the Italian might have a nice card here. Never mind, actually does back out of that battle. Interesting choice.
Didn't really feel confident about it, it seemed. They're being approached by Federico and Jacob Exton, so it looks like Exton's recovered after his issues. Ooh, a little bit into the back there, coming through the S's. Dojsic having Brem giving him the hurry up.
Yeah, less than 2 minutes to go, and these two are fighting what is possibly going to be the second last lap already in this race.
I think so, because they got Verone coming up behind.
Oh, they touched!
Oh, off track! Trying to collect.
He can't save it. Oh,
barrier. No, he can't.
No! Oh,
and he
no,
comes back
Exton.
and it's Exton. And is Brave still going? How
Yes.
is that car still going?
Also, Exton is still going.
Oh my goodness.
Can anyone confirm if damage is actually turned on in this race?
Yeah, I was kind of wondering the same thing. Brame has clearly got the new tank damage model on his car, because my goodness, he hit the wall, he hit another car, and it's still going. Ooh, whoa, and Federico as well, sending it in deep as we ride on board. I asked if there was going to be some uncompromising races here today, Steph, and I think the drivers have all agreed that it's the last chance. Might as well give it everything.
You might as well get everything. Oh, and what is Dojsic doing? That's a rather interesting line. But you have to really give it to Dojsic. He has been battled. He has been battered. But his car is still going, and most importantly, he is still in 5th place.
We got to go to the leaders in the GT3s, because this is suddenly closed up once again, and they're taking the white flag right here. Final lap, and Verone suddenly has Bean right behind him just as they're catching all this fighting. Some of the most chaotic patches of drivers we've seen in the TCRs. That does not bode well for these two.
Yeah, I think they got through the worst of it, but regardless, Caden Bean once again much better through traffic than Nicholas Verone. He's able to close in, now coming out of turn number 1 and into the S as we ride on board with Bean. He's got just over 3.5 miles to try to settle this between the two.
Let's stay with this all the way to the end. There's little left here in this event, the finale of this short season for the Racing Edge Sim Racing Series. Much better through the S's there for the 25, starting to gap Caden Bean just a little bit. That might be what he needs if they catch more traffic. Sam Fellows is the next one in front of them. And then from there on, it's a decent gap up to James Llewellyn. They might not get the worst of it here. Fellows giving them some instructions, trying to make sure it's clear which way to get through as the track weaves back and forth in this section. Coming up the left-hander of Spoon. This has worked out quite well for Nicholas.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in front of them is going to hurt them too badly.
The New Yorkers still holding on. They're coming to the backstretch now. Next up will be Llewellyn, but if they catch him in 130R, that could be a huge checkup here. What's it going to be? They're gaining very quickly. They're going to get there right at the worst possible time, it seems. Maybe just on the exit. Verone has to switch over to the left side. Then he covers back to the inside, keeping Bean behind him. Caden took a look, but it wasn't to be. All it'll need is a good exit. He could maybe try and drag race him, but no. It looks like Verone is going to be your winner here in the GT3 class, as Cope is going to be the last car on the lead lap, so he will take a full victory lap here.
Whoa! the 5th place for TCR just erupted in one big wreck.
Oh, in fact, there's multiple cars wrecking behind them. Oh my goodness. It is the number 18 of Cantu involved, Shaughnessy in the 84, Latifi in there.
And Morad got some damage too. A car landed on top of him.
Holy cow. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Our leader, who hasn't had much screen time at all. Thank you, Nick, for mentioning NASCAR, because my brain has been stuck on the name Derek Cope all day long, and I've had to avoid calling Thomas Derek. But the 64 hasn't had to worry about it because we just haven't talked about him. So as he works his way around the hairpin again, Veneer, well, actually, no, I take that back. Looks like Veneer is on the same lap as him. He managed to finish ahead of Verone. So if disaster strikes for Thomas, obviously he could lose the lead, but I doubt he'll be pushing too terribly hard here.
I think at this point, everyone's just trying to get to the finish.
Thomas hailing from over in the UK&I club. Obviously, probably one of those grateful for this afternoon time race here in North America that he can come over and participate. Just behind him, Verone is actually literally right behind him. That's the yellow and black GT3 that you see just following him. He is done. I'm not sure why he is staying at pace behind our TCR leader, who is going to take the victory and a nice wad of cash here in round 6 in the finale of the Racing Edge Sim Racing Series. Now, let's take a look at that replay of that crazy incident into the Casio Triangle. I didn't even see who this started with, Steph. Did you get a look?
Yeah, it ultimately started with both Duisic and Paolo Brem, who are gonna miss their braking point into the Casio Triangle. They collided, and also in behind, Michael Broomhead, he is gonna miss the braking point. Look at all of this carnage that unfolds right here. I'm just gonna leave this uncommented.
Federico had a very good run sneaking through there. Sad it ended a little bit of comedy there at the end, but thankfully it was a fun race, hopefully for you as well. It hasn't ended quite yet because we do have the post-race show. Stick around for the driver interviews as well as the unofficial results. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back here to Suzuka International Racing Course. We just watched the season finale here in the Racing Edge Sim Racing series, and Nicholas Verone was our winner here over in the GT3 class. It was a close one. There was barely over 1/10 of a second between himself and Caden Bean when all was said and done. And then, of course, the last driver to manage to take cash home here today in the finale was Nick Rowland. He was about 10 seconds back, so he wasn't quite as close as the rest of them. Giuliano Romagnolo, a bit anonymous today compared to all the other action we saw on track. Didn't really get to see him much, but he finished in fourth with Alex Ellis taking a P5. Daniel Morad was sixth with Nick Latifi in P7. Then you've got Carlos Cantu in the eighth position, and take him finishing in ninth. Maximilian Jaeger rounded out the top 10. Michael Plettel was in 11th with Kathy Williams finishing P12. You got Mark Harris in the 13th position. Adolfo Perez was P14. Alexander Davidson and James J.J. Ross were 15th and 16th, and the last of the finishers in the GT3 class was Kenton Cook. Nick?
Thomas Cope's going to get the win over in the TCR class. It's going to be Zachary Veneer and James Llewellyn, the last cash-paying positions there for this season. Sam Fellows and Alex Fedorko are going to be rounding out the top 5 in TCR with Rich Price, Stefan Jeffrey, Michael Broomhead, Brian Zinn, and Jacob Exton behind. Christopher Bailey right behind. Talk about some bad luck there in the one car. David Schwartz, Zlad Dojsic, some more bad luck for him in the 44. He's going to wind up 30th overall. Michael Shaughnessy, Paulo Brem, and Andre Adams going to round out our top 33 overall on the grid today.
And then from there on down, we had pretty much just DNFs with Regium Sheriff Chase, Fabiani, and Bembich. But we do have our winner in the GT3s ready to talk to us, as Nick has caught up, well, with the other Nick.
Absolutely. Caught up with Nicholas Verone, who is going to get the win today at Suzuka. Nicholas, you looked awfully fast, but when it got to be through traffic, Caden was really hot on your heels there.
Hi guys, yeah, it was wonderful race. Really enjoyed. Yeah, I was fast, but I never race with TCR and with a lot of traffic, so I was like taking care not to crash the car or have damage, because that will cost me a lot. But yeah, Caden was like so fast with the traffic. He all the time I saw the traffic in front. I said, "Oh God, he's gonna cut me again." But yeah, I managed to cover in the last lap in the last chicane. So yeah, I could take the win, and I'm really really happy.
Awesome. We saw you very fast out there, just by yourself. We also saw how cold it was out on track. Did that give you any extra grip to help you get around the TCRs, or how did the weather here play into you? How did that play into your race?
Well, personally, always when the weather is cold, I like it a bit more than when it's too hot. So I think that was an advantage for me. And yeah, I could, in a long track like Suzuka, you only have to have like be consistent, because so long track in the lap, you could have so much things happening. So yeah, just keep it consistent, fast and clean, and bring it home.
Awesome. And we were talking about here in the booth how intense a 30-minute race at Suzuka would be. Are you glad to see that 30 minutes is what they went with here with this series, or do you wish it was just a little bit longer to maybe stretch out that lead?
Well, I think for I like sprint racing, mostly with this type of cars, and this championship it's really nice, and I like a lot. 30-minute sprint race, just like full gas all the time. It's really really intense for the drivers, with the traffic. So I think this is great. I like this time. So yeah, for me it's okay.
Yeah, certainly was all right for you today because you wound up getting the win. And what a way to end this season for you. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, well, I want to give a shout to all the guys that organized the championship. Also, the streaming was really good. My family was watching it, so congrats to you, and yeah, all the people who is watching.
Awesome. Glad to have him. Watching a great show that you guys put on today. Thanks for stopping by.
You guys, see you.
It's Nicholas Verone, the winner in the GT3 class. Joe, you've caught up to the winner in another class. It's Thomas Cope.
Yes, indeed, in a very different situation, Thomas, for you than it was for Nicholas. It seems you kind of scampered away with everything. I don't know if you've been able to see or hear from the other drivers about what happened behind you, but that was not the norm in your class. Oh, looks like we might not have Thomas with his microphone quite set up. Oh, there we go.
Yep.
We got you.
Sorry
Thomas.
about that, but yeah, it was a bit of a strange one. I saw Stefan behind me. He had a few incidents. He went wide onto the grass, and he was doing pretty well in that race. But until that moment, I thought we were going to have a good battle. Until there, just obviously went wide and almost ruined his race. Unlucky for him, but glad to see he still finished the race.
Yeah, he kept at it. Unfortunately, was not able to finish on the podium. It seems like this was an interesting mix, this forward wheel drive car at this track. Have you raced this combo before, and what did you think of it?
The car is really hard to drive. I haven't done this combo of the R8s and the TCRs, but the TCR I've driven quite a bit in the IMSA series. But yeah, it's a really hard car to drive, being front wheel drive. But yeah, really struggled to turn out the corners. So yeah.
So it sounds like this is wrapping things up for the season, although I have heard murmurs of maybe doing a little bit more. If we did have a few more races with this combo that Racing Edge organized, what track would you like to see involved?
A big one I'd like to see, I love Silverstone, being a personal favourite of mine, being home track. So yeah, it's a really difficult circuit, long straights as well. A lot of drafting, that could be a really feisty circuit to race at.
Oh, definitely. Then that is a pretty popular one among the drivers. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank for today's win?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my mum and dad. They're watching my stream on Twitch, TC Racing 4X, and all my friends there on my stream that have been watching and helped me practice and prepare for this race.
Great stuff. That was Thomas Cope, who was our winner here today. And I have our second place finisher, Zach Vanier, joining us as well. So let's bring Zach in here, talk to him about his second place. He certainly had a few tussles throughout, but it seemed like it was a race of two halves here, Zach, because you were fighting a lot of people at the start, and then eventually you got yourself kind of clear of all the melee. Well, don't seem to have Zach either, or people just don't want to talk to me today. Zach, do you have a copy? Give him a couple more seconds to see if he can get his mic set up here. Sometimes drivers a little bit new to Discord. As we see, I see his webcam briefly up. We're trying to get him to get the push to talk going here on his mic. Not sure that we've got this one ready quite yet. So we'll come back to him in a little bit. In the meantime, up in the, down in the TCR class again, it looks like Nick has caught up with James Llewellyn.
Yeah, I have indeed, finishing third place on the podium in this TCR class. And hey, it's a podium position. That's just enough to be have your pockets a little bit heavier after today. But man, what a race for you to get there.
Yeah, no, it was quite a tricky one. Sort of just trying to keep it clean at the start, and then had a great little dice with Zlad. Faster cars, sort of a bit of, the faster cars passing us made him lose out on that one. So and then it was just a case of trying to close down Zachary. But I mean, I was sort of inching away here and there, but just couldn't do it in the end. And I have no idea where Thomas went. That was an impressive drive.
Yeah, absolutely. He vanished right from the start, and you were able to keep up pace a little bit, like you mentioned, with a couple of the drivers. But ultimately, the TCR struggle, I think, came when the GT3s were swarming you guys. How was your experience out there in the multi-class traffic today?
Well, actually, this round I found that the R8s were nice and clean. So thank you for that, because it has been difficult in the past. But yeah, no, it's didn't see a massive issue. It was just, through the S's obviously being the big problem. Just, it's a long, drawn out section for the cars to be hanging back, and obviously they're eager to get past. But it was all clean for me, so I was very pleased.
Absolutely. And we were talking a little bit about how the TCRs were maybe going to struggle today in terms of grip as you drive pretty hard in a 30-minute race, 30-minute sprint race, that is. And with the colder conditions out there, the overcast conditions, the tire wear on the TCR is always noticeable. But how is that for you today?
It wasn't too. I'd certainly towards the end of the race, I did feel that the grip was going away from me. But I mean, it's just the patience on being on the throttle, coming out of the long sweeping corners with the front wheel drive. It's just you try and get the throttle on, and you just cost yourself time with it washing wide. So just being patient and trying to feel the grip through the wheel is half the battle.
Absolutely. But that battle is one that you were able to come out on top of today, at least on top of in terms of snagging a podium position. So congratulations on that. Before we let you go today, James, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
But just Richard, who's also in this race, Rich Price. Just nice, really nice guy, and we've just been done some laps together, and always a fair and good adversary.
Absolutely. Made for some fun racing today. Like I said, congrats once again. Thanks for stopping by today.
Thank you very much.
That's James Llewellyn coming home in third place position, the last step on the podium. Joe?
Yep, we've got Zach back in here, Zach Veneer with us. We're going to give one more shot, see if everything's ready to go.
Can you guys hear me now?
We do indeed. Welcome to the booth, Zach. And as I was saying before, it seemed like you had a race of two halves in that you started off with some fights at the beginning, but then once you were clear, it was just kind of you by your lonesome.
Yeah, I had a pretty good qualifying. I qualified fourth, and off the start, I just kind of stayed where I had qualified. I was in fourth, and for the first couple laps, just kind of had a little bit of a gap in front of me, a little bit of a gap behind me, and then it just seemed as the race went on, I found myself in second with a very big gap from behind. So my goal was just to hit my marks, do my laps, and come away with a podium.
With how technical this track is, it seemed like headache traffic was a bit of a headache in some places in today's race. Where were the big trouble zones for you dealing with the GT3s coming through?
Seemed for me every time I was getting lapped by a GT3, it was in the more technical S sections, which would really make me lose a lot of time to the guy in front of me and behind me. They're so much faster than the TCR cars are. I was hoping it was going to play out in my end a little bit better than it did, but like I said, I still came away with the podium, so very happy.
At the start, we didn't get much time to talk about it with all the action, but we mentioned that it was cooler conditions. How long did it take the tires to really feel like they were hooked up for you?
After about 2.5, maybe 3 laps, I was at my normal braking points, acceleration points, turn-in points. So it didn't take too long for them to heat up, and once they did, I was just getting faster and faster as the race went on.
Oh, great stuff. Glad the car felt good. Clearly it did with a second place today. Before we let you go, anybody you want to thank for this podium?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd just like to thank you guys first for putting the broadcast on. I got to give a huge thanks to my dad. He's put a lot of time and money into giving me a simulator that I can compete with. So very thankful for him. I got to give a huge thank you to all my sponsors, Technica Mining, Anmar, Polito Ford Lincoln, Polito Racing, Team LTD, Martell Racing, Fortress Technology, Rust Bond Agency. If I didn't have them behind my back, I definitely would not be where I am. So a huge thank you to those guys. And of course to Daniel Morad and the Race Sim series for putting this series on and doing what they did.
Great stuff. And big thanks to Zach for coming and talking to us. Our thanks to Racing Edge as well. We're actually going to close up. And with that, thank you. We do want to remind you that if you want to check out Racing Edge, you can find them at racingedge.com. But a thank you goes out to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts, and they are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Stefan, Nick, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, where our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support GSRC, we've got a merchandise store. It is simply gsrc.storenvy.com, where we have a link in the description below. And while you're down there, make sure and subscribe to GSRC so that you don't miss a moment with all of our great racing action. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so make sure and check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including tonight, the Blue Collar Indy 500. I need to check to make sure I've got the name of this race right. It is super late models at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This should be an entertaining time for sure. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.